Good afternoon. Good evening. All right. You guys came so far and in the last second, still talking. So that is good. And I'll make sure that your time is worth spending with me. That's what I can promise. That's my opening slide, and that plays the song. This is myself, and Microsoft MVP, welcome Microsoft Cast. Living my more 5 years. All IT tags, I knew Microsoft, you name it, I worked for Accenture, Dell, TCS, VMware, almost I work for everyone. I'm also a universal donor, for that as well. I'm the registered practitioner in Cyber AV and representing Golden 5 as a global CTO. This session is closing CMMC level 1 course. Obviously, I'm leaving my company and here, so obviously my company is sponsoring the session for myself. We are a Microsoft GCC high reseller, directory seller. So we were the only reseller in the whole, all the booths presented today. If you guys have any GCC requirements, please feel free to reach out. It's a discount code as well. I can follow up. And any other consulting need, so we are strictly IT company. We will not jump into C3PA or space or auditors space. This is always scary to remember all the abbreviations, so I prefer to write it down. So if you guys like it, you also write it down so you remember. So how many ESPs are here today? Please raise your hand. No, that's good. So we are the ESP here. One hand. How many entities are OSC? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hands. Nice. And how many entities are C3PA or left? They were many. I don't know if anyone left. They're gone. Yeah, you've got the flavor of everything where you have to connect with. So OSCs are here, C3PAs are here, and ESPs are also here. This is attending discount. If you're buying GCC high licenses, that gives you 10% discount. And if you're buying our consulting services, managed services, it's 20% discount. Simple agenda for today. Identify, sorry, this is straight there. Identify CMMC level 1 controls. Recommended softwares, live session on closing, what all we can do. Obviously, it is a smaller scope versus level 2, but that's a start. So if you have not started anything, this could be a start. One thing I've been listening about these two things, the automation a lot. To cut the cost for the contractors, every organization is looking to do a automation. How many people believe in that everything can be automated? No, right? So, I mean, even can you even identify the gaps by automating it? What do you think? But my thought is no. Every gap cannot be identified by running an automation. because there are so many levels where you need a user intervention and you have to talk to the CISO or compliance manager or whoever is the president or who knows everything about the company. So all the gaps cannot be identified. There is no organization, no software which can automate everything. So don't live in that space, okay, I'm going to buy this $30,000 software, it is going to automate everything for me and I can go to sleep. That is not happening. Let's live in the reality. On the level 1, as I'm covering on level 1, stick to the same scope. On the level 1, these are the 15 controls. I think earlier was 17, they were reduced under the 6 families. So quickly I'm talking about how I envision to close this gap and how simple are these. My goal is to simplify. So if you have an IT admin, he can try to close almost all possible gaps or controls. They're really very basic. Everyone lives in the home. When we leave our home, we lock it. And when we go a little far, we also add a surveillance. That's common. So now think about the corporate world. We have to do the same way. Limit the restriction. If restrict the roles, the first thing we're talking about ACLIP1I or limit information system access to authorized users, processes acting on behalf of users or devices. So acting on behalf, I will pick first as in system accounts, service accounts. Why do we need that? And how can we eliminate and reduce that so that there's no more service account? That should be the focus. So we are saying, let's do a few easy points. Identify the role-based access in the company. Who needs what access? That's the foremost. If there's a user admin, he or she should not have the global admin. Or if a task related to the user admin, then you should not log in as a global admin. So what follows that? Once you find out what the role-based access is required for everyone, then following is the privileged access. If you have a one system administrator, who's your user administrator, who's your global administrator, who's your exchange administrator? 3 different roles we're talking. What we can do is we can define 3 different roles in privileged identity management. And when this administrator needs what role, he log in as that person and only perform that job. That's realistically a role-based access control. Similarly, if you go further and you have the CUI data where you don't want to give access to everyone with full control, limited control, where you have editable files, only 2 architects who are designing for that project, who needs the access to design. Those people should have the editable access, others may be only view only, and other than that, like human resource or accounting or other ends may not need the access at all. So that should be identified and limited based on the SharePoint groups and permissions there as well. Also, if you have third-party applications which needs to collaborate for single sign-on, then register them as application and use the same authentication which is we are using for M365. So this was the mostly identity I was talking about. The next point within the same thing is also device management. How are they using or accessing this data? Which device is authorized to use it? That limiting that is also equally required. And it's very much easily possible using Microsoft Intune Device Manager. So this control easily closes there. Once you're ready, you know what you have done, you write in your policies for access control. And that one control is done. So if you think how much time you need to really realistically achieve is, main goal is to achieve is the role-based access. Who needs what access? That's the primary thing. Rest of the things is probably half an hour, 1 hour job, depends on number of administrators or users who have to bifurcate in different groups and assign the roles and the permissions based on the groups. Now, that's okay. I can jump to the next one, which is AC L1 B1 11. Limit information system access to types of transactions and functions that authorized users are permitted to execute. Very close to each other, first and to second. So again, we will talk relatively similar things, but little bit changes. Like obviously, we have configured role-based access now. Now we're talking about here is a privileged identity management, which is another Microsoft's application which allows you to just-in-time access to the admin access. And when you need admin access, then log in as an admin. If you don't need admin access, just log in as a normal user. If you need to be the Exchange administrator, log in as Exchange administrator. Or if you need to be the user administrator, log in as a user administrator. A third thing fourth thing we're talking here, or the third thing, which is Microsoft Access Review. This is a Microsoft's platform's access review configuration which allows you to build a package, assign to a user, and also retire on a given date. So you have 3 months project. After 3 months, you want to remove the permissions from everyone who was accessing it. You can do it, it's automated. You just have to go and review the access is still active, or you have to terminate, or you have to extend. You can do that using Microsoft Access Reviews. Fourth point I'm making is talking about a user provisioning process. How you provision the user, that's how has to be part of your compliance control. How you have mentioned or how you have planned for it. What I bring in, or Version 5 will bring in, is a user provisioning software. So I'm mostly talking about that. But if you have another software which what you use, that would be idle to use or identify and document as well. So you will take the user information, create the user, or before creating the user, take the approval from the managers who has to realistically approve. Okay, this user I'm going to give access to these 5 groups. That's what new identity can allow you, your manager, to review that, okay, this looks right. You should have access to these 5 groups. These 5 groups are configured to give him the access to further 5 folders, which we have, where we have CUI data or FCI data that we're talking about. Once that's done, obviously things can move to the assignment, user creation, assignment, Microsoft licensing, and if needed, software can also convert mailbox to a shared mailbox in case that employee has left, gone, but you may think still you need the emails, we can convert to shared mailbox as well. And if any issues comes, obviously the software can report to the system admin, IT team can come and resolve this. So quickly, if I go back to the reality, that was the slide. In M65, this is where you see role assignments, where you can assign the roles to different users based on what is needed. This is Enter ID, there's more Exchange, and then Intune. Other billing, we don't need a billing, but at least these 3 could be used as needed as well. I was also talking about the user identity management and access control. So that's part of Entra.Microsoft.com. Okay, same login. It shows up here. this is the entitlement management, and under that is access review. That's where you can build the package and assign to the users. Below that, you have privilege identity management, where you can configure the users for privilege access as you go. Any questions so far? I'll bring up the slide back if no questions. Moving on, so there are 4 controls, right? So it was a small slide, I could not fill in all in one, so I did level 2. So the third control here for level 1 is in access control is verify and control limit control connection to use of external information. Now this is primarily about how we can restrict the external access. Sometimes you have to share external access. Sometimes someone is sick and they want to work from home, or there's a customer who needs access, or someone is agent is a consultant is trying to collaborate. How we handle that situation. So, for relatively easy, obviously, first point we have made is configure a VPN using Enter ID, allow multi-factor authentication, and if it is a remote office, you can use even express routing with Microsoft. So everything works through the LAN IPs, not nothing is going towards the WAN. So don't open the WAN access. That's one way to give the external information, protection of external information. Also, when you have Windows devices, then you may want to configure Windows Hello for device-based authentication. What it does is it offers Microsoft Hello offers remote activation restriction, which means even if the laptop is offline, not in the internet, it can still do the Face ID, fingerprint ID, and PIN authentication. So that's another form of authentication it can do, which may not be possible with other MFAs which provide. So that's one thing. Second thing I'm also saying, we can also implement mobile threat defense using Microsoft Defender for endpoint for every mobile device. For example, my phone is there. If it is connected to this Wi-Fi or this warn me you are not in a secure Wi-Fi, I could therefore it again warns me you are not in a secure Wi-Fi. How important it is when you are carrying a CUI data that you connect to the secure Wi-Fi. So I have another phone. I work for DOE as well. Please Gesture Lab is my customer. So I have that, their phone as well with me. That phone does not connect to any Wi-Fi because I don't want that connection to be exposed to any personal or unsecure Wi-Fi. That only connects to my office Wi-Fi, that only connects to my home Wi-Fi, and which is secure, no other Wi-Fi, not even a virtual Wi-Fi. So mobile threat defense will allow you or warn you every single time if you have it configured. So external information will not be exposed or connection will be protected by that. Additionally, if you have heard about conditional access allows you to limit geo-based limitations. So no one outside US can connect to your M65 tenant. If your users are traveling to another country for collaboration, for example, Japan or Germany or another country which as part of their collaboration, they can your IT administrator can open that country for that particular user only, and that way you can still be restricting the geographical connections. Microsoft allowed IP-based restriction as well as now it's on the geo location as well. So that's another way to be more restrictive on the protecting external information. One thing I want to mention, which we mostly talk in the CMMC level 2, is if you have the consultants if the consultants who has been collaborating, now you're going to the compliance, how are you going to give them the access? So you can also use Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop or Microsoft Windows 365 PC. They can log into that device and access from there. And if you are looking for subcontractors access to, then we can also configure a subcontractor enclave within your M365 by dividing their information barriers, so that they will not have access to your side of data, and that way they can still live in the same tenant. So that was point number 3. Jumping to point number 4 in access control. Control information posted or processed on publicly accessible information. So this is something which is very easy, right? You are not going to go and put something in the public. But if you are unknowingly doing it, that's the point. Right? Someone says, okay, we won a $4 billion contract with the US Air Force to do this and that, and marketing team did not realize what they're going to publish. They put together some pictures out of that contract as well, which were not supposed to be shared. That's a CUI data. So the controls are required to be posted, first of all, in the social media. So all the posts which are going has to be reviewed by a compliance manager or CISO. That's to be the practice and a process for that. All documents which are related to your secret data should be configured with labeled with your information protection encryption. So you are limiting that only limited people have access to that document to open them. So that's one way to see that. Also on the device, you can configure blocking the data access or copying. So for example, in this laptop, you can block USB. So USB is the one good source of copying the data. Mostly you will see that all the government laptops have USB block, or even the network copy using UNC path is blocked. Those are the things which way you block the data copy. Also the printing you can block. So nothing can be done with that data. And you may allow that depending on where the device is. If the device is in the office where you have the plotters, you can allow them to print. Makes sense. Okay? And food also matters. So watch out for that. So those policies has to be in line. Could be part of Intune, could be part of conditional access. Another point is that data loss prevention. We can configure data loss prevention policies, which will, based on when you find out CUI data, based on that, it can go to the compliance manager for the approval, or the CISO for the approval, and once they approve it, then only it will be confirmed. Or they can reject it. That data will be zero. That's zero. Again, Microsoft also offer cloud app security to label their files that can be used. One is pointing out some technologies which are available, can be utilized as well, which you may have considered, you may not have considered. If there's any question, I'm happy to address. Quickly, I wanted to come back to the screen. This is where your conditional access is. You can configure different policies for conditional access. What it does is it allows you to do different locations, what I was talking about. One is the named location where you can add the network, which network should be allowed or blocked. And there is a policy here, which is, I'm sorry if it's a little slow, but these are the locations where you have to come. You have to see the site. What is the where you have to go and create it exactly. Additionally, if there's custom controls or option there, what it means, if you are using non-Microsoft authentication like Duo, you can configure here as well so that Duo can be used as a part of conditional access.
Windows level as let's say a previous as a group from a backup.
Yeah. Yes.
So you could turn it on desktop laptops and you don't need it.
Yeah, we don't need to do. So yes, very good question though. I was trying to highlight that the Duo may not do the what do you call Duo may not do the remote activation restriction. That's the point which Microsoft is making to justify how Windows Hello is better than Duo. So in Windows Hello, we are doing the facial authentication. That's another way of authentication. Not only when you're saving on the phone, then only you do that. Because imagine you're on the flight and you have to work on something also. Then open a laptop, log in without having to try to do it.
Did you say that you felt that Windows 11 was okay for home practices?
Yes.
In my experience, it's been a mixed bag on blockers' perspectives. I've seen them go to Mac, so wrestle with it. So just saying, varies, and knowing your auditor before you go in, especially your CPO and their stance when you go in, definitely outside of mine.
Yeah.
I know some CPOs have a problem with it. I know some do.
Some know, some don't. That's also the problem. So we are updating our website so it will be hard to understand economy. First, I have to think the same way that I studied a little more about remote activation restriction. And that is going to worse. That is saying, oh, if you have a Duo, and Duo is not going to work with offline. So when the device is offline, you don't have any configuration. That's worse. Versus when you have inbound or facial or so what are we trying to do with the authentication? We're trying to identify are the same person who's supposed to log in to the system. That's the goal. So you have a password. Yeah, you like to be on the same person. Rather than share the password with someone, you will not, or you will have a enforcement where you have to check the password. So you are not. Then you go set aside authentication, where this is not sure. And in that case, you can do something else. Official ID is not recognizing you. You're not looking. Or hiding, or you have to face, then you're not recognizing. So rather than Duo, where you type the password, it sends the authentication, someone putting under control can access your phone device also, and force you to log in. Whereas in this case, if your finger is your second way to log in, and finger is damaged by that person, you can log in. Yes, so the security is more. Moving to identification and authentication. Identification information system users, processes acting on behalf of the users. Quite similar, we read about the service accounts, right? So that's again similar but close. So that's what people watch out for. In this case, we will in enter ID, single sign-on, configure that. Use conditional access policies for MFA, wherever you need it or not needed, whichever works. When I say not needed, sometimes the users log in multiple times into the log organization. So you may set log in once in a day. If you are in this office, do not prompt me again for that day again. I feel the same because that location is safe. So you are at that location is a safe location. Also I'm saying is the process we talked about, that new identity can provide you onboarding process that could be handled, that can be used. A simple process, whatever the provisioning process has to be added. So I'm showing me like HR says, oh, we hired engineer one. Can you process it today? Yeah. And you did it. After 2 hours, oh, we hired a manager. Oh, can you process today? Yeah. So, I mean, maybe moving very fast, it's not a process. The process has to be, okay, we will provision the user after 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. or one time in a day. Not the whole day we are provisioning the user. That should be, that's what I'm talking about. The process has to be for onboarding and how you onboard. So that's to streamline that. That's sort of all of the sort of problem can happen. Then having authorized inventory list. So obviously you track the inventory, what you assign the inventory, that could be also tracked. You offer that option too. And configure Intune to onboard the device, make it compliant, configure security policy, encryption of the disk, install the softwares, install antivirus, which in this example, I'm giving an example of different Microsoft Focus. So why I do much Microsoft Focus is because I feel that it's so secure. So always think if you're going to another platform, you're opening another vendor's entity. So that's how I see it. Everyone may see the same way. I respect that too. Again, Microsoft Access Review, we talked about that. Yes, few controls go over each other as well. So that will be like this. Then we're talking about second control in the identification and authentication. Verify user identity using Entra ID. And what we are moving from a password to passwordless authentication. So today, when we log in, most of us, if we are moved to passwordless, then you don't type the password. You just type the MFA, 2-letter, 2 numbers, which shows up on the screen, you know, MFA prompt, and that's authentication. That eases authentication, and you don't have to remember the password. You don't have to think of forgetting the password. Excuse me. Then we also want to manage the policy combination of policy using conditional access policies. And manage device using Intune and authenticate them in Windows Hello we talked about. Quickly, I wanted to jump to another web page which I have opened here. This is our new identity web page where you can fill all the user details and also add the laptop details, which we are simplifying it as to laptops mentioned there. Laptop tag, is it a new or used, mention that. So while creating itself, you are assigned it. So previously I was watching bodies share. So we listed a table with the IPs and MAC addresses. Also learned that MAC addresses can be changed. That's one. Kyle, CCPO, made a software running us back. So we could change our MAC address. MAC addresses are changeable. And IP addresses, when you're traveling with the laptop, IP addresses are changeable too. so that couple of things could not stick with devices as well. So inventory may exist with some IPs, but may not exist with some other IPs. Like permanent computers may have that IP, but laptops may not have that. Okay, next component. Simple and easy media protection. How do you guys throw your non-working hardware?
It's a red key. The red key has a.
Okay. So you have a design that are to constant.
Two ways. One is red key, which is 577 full times. There's that one. There's also and there's the physical instructions and have a certificate.
That's what every contractor needs to do. Find your nearby vendor do this. I have this vendor who is doing for me. So I have I'm using that. Primary is this. We're primarily not just talking about that, right? But we are also talking about your papers, printouts. So, we use for archives, which you cannot make at home, office, then do a planning, come in and make it for you, and we use it. On the printouts, you have to have a specific in-house trasher, which can trash the right bits and pieces, which listed in the policies. So use that for destroying your papers, and try not to print at the first page if you have to destroy that. Now, jumping onto the physical protection. So again, we are trying to protect the physical protection in your office for the data. Again, separate two locations. So if you have anyone coming to meet you, they should stay in the public space. Versus your office equipment has to be in the private, secure space where you need another authentication, where no one just can access like that. Like a small data center in the office. That could be one space, but you have to have a badge entry and only limited badge should be allowed. Like you have a shoot the badge for everyone, but don't allow everyone to log in just like that. Now we're also thinking of talking about this as a badge entry. So everyone has a badge entry, or you have a badge plus code. How many of you have implemented badge plus code? That's nice. No, not that. Yeah, I have a customer in Hawaii. They have badge entry with code. They have two doors. First door you come in, and then second door you come in. Same way. They put the alarms. Even if you get out without someone unlocking you, alarm will ring. So they have to also come to kick you out this way. So they open the door for you, and then you can go out. And when they open the door, they have to start the badge and also type the code, and then only you can get out. So that's the level of security. That's more or less could be a good thing to use. Then, as I said, data center limited access, even the working area should have limited access. Not everyone should be just allowed to a working area where you have the open CUI data. I work in the call center program, which is which had a HIPAA compliant process. So what the process they follow is all the windows, they blacked out. So no one can see inside with the black paper or curtain paper. And then every agent who's working inside, they're not allowed to carry an iPhone or USB or any other electronic device in the floor. So they have the lockers, they will assign the lockers, keep it there. Once you have a break, go out and use your iPhones or any phones or anything which you need. So this is the way to control event staff, full-time staff are allowed to carry it because that's a risk. That could be additional control, which I have not mentioned. Now, when the visitor comes, most likely everyone here will have a physical register at the door. Anyone comes, sign in and sign out like a doctor's office. What we call next is a visitor app, which can be used for this purpose. It saves the data in the SharePoint photo, and you can switch and check when okay, it has a camera and it has a visitor who is separate from that as well. Again, that's one thing, doesn't mean that visitor is allowed to walk freely. The visitor has to be accompanied by an employee that always remember and follow that. Same thing for the exit. I've seen that many times customer came to pick me but then it times to exit. Customer went away from us and I had to find an exit, which wasn't okay with me. In which case, those were the commercial companies, not the company which is looking for CMMC compliant. Or following that practice. So now, following that now my customer, they come to pick us up because the doors are locked, so we cannot just walk by ourselves. That's what we have to practice to also let the guest visitor go out. So your meeting has to finish 2 minutes before, at least, so that you can walk out and come back for the next meeting. So watch out for that as well. I think quickly I have this. This is how the visitor app looks like. You can use it in the iPad or any other pad or so all this while I was talking, it was not showing. Oh my God, I'm not supposed to. So I was talking over conditional access like this here, the name location policies, and I was talking about access review, and I was talking about the identity management. I'm so sorry because it's not right. And this is your entry page, and previously I was talking about role lists. Access to role assignments. Here is the employee ID, chain. When I was talking about new app, here we have laptop, LP10, laptop ID, new or used, with the user location. We're going to sign it down there. Then I was talking about this visitor app we have. This can be used on the laptop, on the iPad, on anything else. So I'm going to give the camera access so that it should be there as well. And and it's deployable to every customer's SharePoint online. It is not a SaaS application. We do not build a SaaS application. We build everything deployable to the customer. Customer data stays with customer. That's our focus. That's using Power Apps and SharePoint. One license. Alright, so yeah, move to the digital register. That's what is a message versus probably the paper register. Unless, and it's a one-time cost, there's no monthly recurring, if I can explain that too. Switching back to the slides. Okay. Next one is system and communication protection. Monitor, control, protect, organization, communication, external boundaries, and key boundaries of the information system. Firewall is the aspect, of course, when we are talking about that. Also, your VLAN could divide different LANs. Anytime you have multiple departments, you don't need to share with everyone. So that's also necessary. Maybe we live in the same network, but restricting the permissions would be another way to hold them back. And I said, I talked a little bit about the subcontractor and the prime contractor, that if you want to have implemented, that's where we can also help you with the subcontractor enclave, where we can implement the information barriers and you have the limitation to access one side of data, and the contractor cannot access the prime side of data in that case. In this scenario also, like I said, we can use a Windows PC or Azure Desktop to log in from there and not having anything on your laptop. Nothing downloads on your laptop. Even if your laptop is not secure, you don't lose anything. Excuse me. Then implement subnetwork for public access system component that is physically and logically separated from internal network. So that's what we already have covered. They close to each other, separating them. Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi. Nowadays, everyone has the guest Wi-Fi for anyone comes home, right? Or same way you might have it in the office too, a guest Wi-Fi. So how secure is guest Wi-Fi? That matters. If you just create a Wi-Fi on the same network, which is then set it as a guest Wi-Fi, just to save the passcode of the Wi-Fi, which is corporate Wi-Fi. That is not realistically the guest Wi-Fi. So understand the importance. You also have to segregate the network. It is better you can totally isolate the network, guest network, only allow internet access. That's it. That's what a guest want. And then staff network, staff access should be different. And that's where you allow them access to the servers or even some secure network. This is the only group which accesses UI data. They have a separate network. Connect to that network, access secure data, and rest everybody outside of it. That's best way to securing the data within the network boundaries. So now you might be thinking, how do we do it in the Azure? Everything is in Azure, it's open, right? No, but you can still control. You can still give the access by different firewall policies that, okay, from a user coming from this network can access this network and have access, and different ways to configure that as well. And between Azure Hybrid, if you configure, then you can also configure the local IPs, LAN IPs. That way you connect to Azure using the LAN IPs through your VPN. Now, next point is implement subnetwork for publicly accessible system component that are physically or logically separated. Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I was talking about. Firewall, network, and private links will help as well. Excuse me. And this will be, this will be the last 4 controls. We covered, I think, 11 controls. So system and information integrity. Identify, report, correct information and information system flaws in timely manner. Most important. This is where everything is happening. Nowadays, we email to a customer, they will visit, and then, hey, you share how did it go? They reply, oh, we are sorry, we were attacked, we were down for so many days. And this is what is happening here now and then. So that's why it is important that we run a vulnerability scan, first of all. Every now and then, it can run quietly, silently, and we just have to watch it. We have to fix the issues. Implement a SIEM solution, which can report open issues, open vulnerabilities, and keep monitoring. And your MDR service provider, if you cannot have a 24/7 monitoring, we do that for our customers as well. And also configure some auto remediations, whichever possible, wherever possible. Not everything is auto remediable. For example, a Wi-Fi device related vulnerability that needs a firmware update. That will not be auto remediable. But if a user is not supposed to be in Peru and he logs in from Peru, then that's a vulnerability which can be auto remediated. That could be configured to do that. Moving on to the next one. Provide protection for malicious code. Again, endpoint detection and response service will help from the Microsoft Defender. Again, Defender is powerful. Microsoft is focusing a lot on Defender. So not only Microsoft Defender for endpoint, going forward you can also implement Microsoft Defender for identity, Office 365 cloud apps, and Defender for cloud. So identity is for Entra ID to watch how the identity is working, whereas Defender for Office 365 is for emails. That's watch your attachment and URL filtering, and the cloud apps for the Microsoft apps like Outlook, Word, and everything there. And then Defender for Cloud is for Azure platform. Also, another point is watch the firmware you're applying to your devices. That also, if it's possible, if it's approved, or a GCC High approved or GCC High certified firmware or driver, that's what is recommended to be used. So, because the firmware can also be a virus. I was showing one of the C3PA email to Microsoft group for the Exchange server, and we were going to deploy the server, and Microsoft Defender scans it as a virus. It was not a virus, but that's how the Defender identified it. So that was identified later as a bug in the Defender. It was not a virus. But that's why it's important to scan. So I'm just pointing it out every driver. Then you update the malicious code protection mechanism where new releases are available. So that should be auto update for the antivirus platform. Don't wait for another day because it could be an urgent definition, and you should be applying it immediately. And regular scans, the last point is perform periodic scans for information system and real-time scan of the files from external sources. Wherever you have kept the file, obviously, if you're keeping in Microsoft SharePoint, that's protected. Microsoft has encryption, they're also protecting the scan. But if you're keeping the Azure file share, it's not. So, you look for it to run the scan. If you're keeping some files in your local directories, scan it every now and then. That would be recommended as well. Any questions so far? It's Friday, everyone wants to leave it. I talked about new identity a little bit, so I just wanted to show you that this is what it is. These are some attributes about new identity. If you have any interest, we can talk about it later. It's Friday, and everyone wants to go out and start their beer. Next point is the policy management. We also offer a policy management. You are signing or writing the policies, but depends on how hard it is to distribute and keep track of it. This is the software which helps you to keep a track of it. This is our proprietary, again, this is deployable to your customer, to your network, your tenant. This is easy replacement for open form, where you can easily upload the policies, like I have these policies in the system, and we can distribute it. Go here, assign the policies to the users, whoever you want. We have the policy, and we can assign a group name, and we can assign limit. As simple as that. And you come back and check who has access, who has completed, who has not completed. Rather than you distribute everybody over the email, and someone says, okay, I'm done with 5 of them, and I have left with 6th one, I'll do it tomorrow. And there is no word after that for a week. So you don't know if that person did it completely or not. And then another person. So how to track that? If you're good with that, no worries. But if that's a challenge, then we talk about GRC app. The whole day we heard about GRC app. Now, which is primarily supposed to be very simple app. What we did is we built it in the SharePoint and Power Apps. So this will also stay in your SharePoint and Power Apps. You don't have to expose your policies outside your network. Think of it, no before. If they're hacked today, hacker knows your password policy. Hacker knows your encryption policy. Hacker knows your other policies, which I mentioned. Based on those policies, hacker will attack your network. That's simple. So why to expose? Keep everything intact in your systems. Again, simple app, you deploy, you can use it. One-time cost, lifetime gain. That's what we say. With nothing fancy, nothing to big or there. Simplified app, which has some guidance. We will also add extra guidance when we give it to you. And also see the video can give it on that. If that's what is required for OEM or not. And you can mark the status to edit, yes, mark the status, and also as attachments, everything in your SharePoint Online. So when you are going out of your network, I'm not pushing you to go out of your network. That's what you have to see, how secure your network is and how and where you keep the policies or anything else outside is going, a third party you're using, that has to be secure as well. So this is the Register app. I just showed you that already. We talked about it. And this is how I see a good 5 portfolio, which is empty. What we can offer for CMMC is, my next session is on the same Microsoft's offering for CMMC portfolio. So if you see Microsoft offering what was lacking? We covered last 4 This is what we envision, if that is how we can safeguard everything within Microsoft and our technologies as well. This is what we do as a partner. We can help you strategize a future roadmap, design, develop, migration, business continuity, DR plan, documentation, managed services, planning, or we can be here at ESP as well. Also Microsoft licenses. This will be quickly jumping on as well. Most likely you guys know what you have to do, but this is what we offer. Sorry. GCC high licenses, help you getting the approval, help you go through the CMMC baseline, configurations, help share the helping you ready for assessment and share that with the CCPO. If you don't know and if you need to identify which CCPO could be good for me, we may have a better view of which CCPO is available, how much workload they have. We may recommend you that as well, and we can help you further do any changes and updates as well and make compliance. We also offer some data enclave, so that could be a quick starting thing, the first thing you want to start with if you have not started, as well. Licenses, Azure subscription, defines boundaries, CMMC baseline, introduce CPO. This all can be done in 1 week. That's where this would be. Except that, I'm jumping on to that's most likely my last slide. Next week, Monday, I'm hitting CMMC Pay in Maryland. And then I will see you guys probably in the Seek West in Vegas. And this is my other panels where you can connect and check what I'm posting there. Thank you everyone. Enjoyed the session. And this is my point.